jungle is no place for the faint of heart. If you're not the hunter, then you're the hunted. Last season, the Bengals clawed through their prey on the way to the Super Bowl. Now, they are the reigning kings of the AFC, fighting to defend their crown.
All it's been about what they did last year. We know what we can do. We know how good we are. We just got to put that on tape.
Conversely, Pittsburgh is going through a changing of the guard. A new quarterback, a new GM. But for the Steelers, the standard remains the same.
This is a big, big first round. Who's going to land the big punch?
This season, the conference runs through Cincinnati, which means if you want to make it out alive, you must go toe-to-toe with the kings of the jungle.
Here we go. This pass is caught, and that's a touchdown. That's the way to work. Come on. He's been sacked. The Steelers win the football game. Let's go. Come get it. You know what it is.
This one is in the history books.
Here we go.
Welcome to the 84 Lumber Mike Tomlin Show.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to the 84 Lumber Mike Tomlin Show. I'm Missy Matthews. The Steelers entered Week 1 as underdogs, and while there was little fanfare on the part of the Bengals to celebrate their 2021 AFC Championship, the Steelers defense had enough motivation after their last two unsuccessful trips to Paycor Stadium. For more on the first of many thrilling AFC North matchups, let's send it over to Bob Pompeani, who's with Coach Tomlin, to talk about the Steelers' first win. Bob.
All right, Missy, thanks very much. Wow, what a way to begin the season. The Steelers go on the road and come away with a win. Head coach Mike Tomlin is here. Boy, you've been involved in a lot of crazy games in Cincinnati. Where does this one stack up?
It's pretty high on the list. It is. I think the that infamous playoff game is probably the only one that was probably wilder from my perspective. Just the gravity of the game, the fact that it was postseason, and some of the things that happened at the very end, and the cast of characters on both sides that was involved in that made it what it was. But make no mistake, man, it was a highly charged atmosphere. I am so proud of our guys to display the mettle to get it done. You're fighting a lot of things in Week 1 when you're going into an environment like that, a banner game, they're hanging the AFC Championship banner and their quality outfit. And so there's growth associated with that experience, and it's good to win while doing so.
It comes with some collateral damage, though. You have some injuries. TJ Watt won't be available. How do you compensate for his loss?
You know, you pivot. The reality is the guy taking his place on the field is not going to be TJ. And so, boy, you got to redistribute your strengths elsewhere. And so we expect quality varsity play from whoever's playing for him, but to expect TJ-like plays, no, we don't. And so structurally, schematically, we're just going to, put ourselves in position to highlight the talents of other players in an effort to produce a similar collective outcome.
You guys have had some tremendous seasons defensively with sacks, turnovers. Where does this game fit in terms of some of the best defensive efforts you have seen collectively from your group?
It's probably not in the discussions of the elite, really, to be honest with you. It's a Week 1 performance. Their units hadn't played a lot in the preseason. Joe Burrow had an appendectomy and some of those things. There's a lot of variables in September football that makes you temper your enthusiasm. When I think about dominant defensive performances, I think about the road getting more narrow and those things being revealed in, January or December like football.
But certainly encouraging, because you made a point of it last week talking about turnovers and how they killed you last year. And in this game, you dominated that department.
It was something that was very necessary. We had to flip that component of it, and our guys did so emphatically. Not only our defense getting the ball, but our offense protecting the ball. And we needed all of it to get out of the stadium. And so that was something to be excited about.
We talked a lot about the performances of Cam and TJ. It's almost a weekly exercise, but Alex Highsmith had one of those stat lines that makes you think he could be Defensive Player of the Week. So many to choose from. Was he at his best in that game?
He was, but I don't think it's a lightning strike. I think it's the natural maturation of a really good player. He was good enough to be a component of our outfit as a rookie, and us to even establish his packages to include him in play. I remember several times we had a 3 outside linebacker structure when he was a rookie, and he was the third wheel with TJ and Bud. His second year, Bud goes to Tennessee. He becomes a down in and down out player and then does a varsity job there. And so as he gets comfortable in that role, I think it's reasonable to expect him to continue to do the things that he's done since he got here, which is improve and have the plays that come along with those improvements.
Now let's switch to some offensive issues, and you have an injury there to Najee Harris, who looked to be in a lot of pain. He had that foot injury that kept him out of preseason. What is his status for this game, and what do you expect from him?
Naj is young and confident. He's extremely optimistic, and I like that. But he's going to have to prove game readiness to me. He's a young guy, and so that requires some practice participation. And so we're optimistic about his inclusion, but at the same time, we're going to need verification of game readiness because that's the appropriate thing to do for him and for us.
Jaylen Warren got in, and he didn't really carry the ball that much, but he laid out a couple of guys. That part of his game, I don't think people thought that he could do that given his size, but man, he was pretty good in the blocking department.
I'm not surprised at all. There's a cliche, and you guys know I got a few cliches, but he's short, not small. And there's a difference between a short guy and a small guy. If you look at his body structure, he has a base about him. He's built for football. He's going to win most one-on-one confrontations because he's got built-in leverage. It's kind of a running back version of James Harrison, if you will. People never misidentified James as small. James was short because everybody saw the power. This guy has power and strength like that per his position that makes his size an interesting discussion. He's a guy that I would characterize as short, not small.
All right, let's talk about your offense, how to respond in overtime. First of all, you had time to look back now, assess it. Mitch Trubisky played his best, it seemed, in overtime, which is, I'm sure, why you had him in there to begin with, the experience that he shows.
I was, after the game, I was glad that we won, and I thought we did what was necessary in all areas to win. I knew environmentally it was going to create some challenges for our offense, playing in a hostile environment, in a banner game and stuff like that. I knew we were going to have some challenges offensively from a cohesion standpoint because we got so many new pieces, guys new to the National Football League, guys new to us. And so I had that level of understanding. But when I look at it, man, I was pleased with the progress we made when I took the emotions out. I thought that we were better than we were in Jacksonville in every way. And it was a more intense environment, obviously, than we saw in Jacksonville regular season to preseason. Cincinnati is a really stout and fundamentally sound defense. There was less negativity in our offense. We made the necessary plays when we needed to make the necessary plays. We took care of the football. We did a lot of positive things to build upon in an environment like that, given our state of development. And so we take those lessons, we seek no comfort, and we move forward and continue to build.
One other thing, and that would be the special teams. We sat here at this studio last week, and you said special teams would play a factor. Did you have any idea it would be that big of a factor? And I was thinking, or having visions of James Harrison snapping the football back when the Steelers had a situation like that.
I just been around long enough that I'm have enough lines in the water. We were ready for things and teams. It was wild and the things that they had to deal with. But largely, I like how we functioned. We had 11 on the field when we needed 11 on the field. The guys understood the larger picture of what it is we were trying to do. And so it was just a lot to kind of be encouraged by, and I'm excited as we work and lean in on this next opportunity.
And the next opportunity is the home opener at Acrisure Stadium against New England. Bill Belichick and his team coming to town. We'll talk with Coach Tomlin about them when we come back. Missy, let's send it back over to you.
That's right, Bob. And Sunday's matchup between Coach Tomlin and Bill Belichick will be the battle of the NFL's longest tenured head coaches. Will the Steelers move to 2-0 as the Patriots fall to 0-2 for the first time since 2001? Coach and Bob will give us a scouting report of New England coming up next.
Welcome back to the 84 Lumber Mike Tomlin Show. Are you 84 Lumber material? Visit 84lumber.com/careers to learn more.
Sunday will mark a new era in the Steelers-Patriots rivalry. The last time these two teams met and neither Ben Roethlisberger or Tom Brady started was in 1998. The quarterbacks were Cordell Stewart and Drew Bledsoe, and the head coaches were Bill Cowher and Pete Carroll. For more on what the matchup will look like tomorrow, let's send it back over to Bob and Coach. Guys.
All right, Missy, thanks very much. It is the home opener at Acrisure Stadium as New England comes to town. And, Coach, let's talk about a matchup with Bill Belichick. You guys have gone back and forth. Is this a special matchup when you go coach to coach, two of the best in the game?
I think I've been in it so long, and obviously he's been in it a lot longer than I have, that neither one of us will be distracted by some subplot like that that's irrelevant. I think that we'll both be trying to get our young teams together and ready to perform and to perform at a really high level. Got a lot of respect for Coach and what he's done over the course of his career. But it's interesting to look at them and prepare for them this year. It's been a number of years since we've seen them. They've gone through some transitional things like we have, and so it's going to be an exciting game. He and I will be, old news in terms of our roles, but a lot of the major components, the guys that will determine the outcome of the game, are new, and that's why it's exciting, and I'm sure he shares the same sentiment.
New quarterback in Mac Jones' second year. This is different for him, however, because they've kind of changed. They went from Josh McDaniels as offensive coordinator. Now they got three guys doing it. Is that difficult for a young quarterback in year two?
Seemingly yes, but I think at every step along the way, he's proven to be an outlier from an intellect standpoint. They felt comfortable enough about him last year at the end of the team development that they named him the starter for the opener and cut Cam Newton. And that speaks to him and maturity and just their ability to anticipate what they were going to get from him. And so that's not hoping and wishing. He showed them some tangible evidence of that. I think his performance once the season got started further confirmed that. And so I think he's going to continue to be an outlier. I think his youth is a non-factor in terms of some of the transitional things that you mentioned. I think he's a central component of what they do offensively. I think he's highly involved in game planning and has an opinion. And you see it in his game management. Last week, man, they were in week one in Miami in a divisional road game, and man, he was checking things at the line of scrimmage, and I'd imagine there was some hostility in that environment. And so I think he's going to continue to be the outlier in those areas, and I think that's why they're fired up about having him, and that's why we better be on our toes in terms of seeing him in stadium for the first time.
You guys have two good tight ends who made plays last week. They have two good tight ends. As a young quarterback, he seems to look in their direction a lot. Tell us about those guys and what do you have to be mindful of?
I think that's probably, one of the things that guys like Bill and I share when we've been somewhere, particularly for a long period of time. We look at new players and we can relate it to tandems of players that we had in the past. And they've always had a dynamic tight end tandem. At least the 15 years or so that I've been here, the names have changed. Ben Watson and Gronk and Hernandez and others, but there's always been a cultural emphasis there. And so I think, Smith and Hunter are just the latest examples of that. And so we better be prepared to work to minimize them, because I'm sure Coach Belichick and company have some intentions to utilize their talents.
One of the things Belichick seems to pride himself in is schematically, taking steps to neutralize offenses. They have Devin McCourty, he's been around forever. Tell us about their defense. Largely, to use your expressions, a lot of nameless gray faces that many fans may not recognize.
They got some guys that are Patriot guys that are hubs of communication and steady guys as they train and teach new guys. In a similar way that we function here in Pittsburgh, man, when you got continuity, you got a guy like McCourty that's been back there. He's 35 years old. He's unbelievably experienced. He's a traffic cop. Okay, so they might have some new corners and things that play back there, but you better believe that situationally they're going to be ready. They're going to be playing appropriate leverage. They're going to have their eyes in the right place because they got McCourty back there ensuring those things happen. I'm sure they feel the same way about Bentley at the linebacker level. I'm sure they feel the same way about Lawrence Guy, who's been there a number of years at the defensive line level. They always have a top flight match corner Now it's number 31, Jones. He's new to the role, but he's not new to New England. He's, I think, in his 6th or 7th year. They drafted him. They've cultivated and developed him. He's watched Gilmore absorb those responsibilities. He's watched J.C. Jackson absorb those responsibilities. And so he's grown. And so now, last week, he was mirroring number 10 in Miami. I would imagine he's going to be tracking Deontay. He's new to the role, but that's been cultivated. And so there's a readiness there. His name might be somewhat new to fans, but rest assured, he's going to be ready to meet the needs of the role and the position that he holds.
It's not an AFC North rivalry, but it is a rivalry. Pittsburgh, New England, Sunday, right here in town, the home opener. We'll have more on that coming up. Right now, let's send it back over to Missy.
Thanks, guys, and this will mark the first time the Steelers play host to New England in their home opener. Under head coach Mike Tomlin, the Steelers are 11-4 in their first games at home. Now it's time for your Yinz Chat trivia question. In Steelers history, were more players drafted from Michigan State or the University of Washington? You'll find out after the break.
Welcome back to the 84 Lumber Mike Tomlin Show.
The answer is Michigan State. Yinz Chat is the Steelers' official predictive and trivia game. Answer questions, make picks, and win prizes. Play Yinz Chat exclusively on the Steelers' official mobile app. Well, it's not the Tom Brady-led Patriots coming to Pittsburgh on Sunday. Second-year quarterback Mac Jones has taken over New England's offense and only scored 7 points in Miami last weekend. For more on how the Steelers' defense can take advantage of the young QB, here's Merril Hoge with this week's playbook.
Hi everyone, welcome into the UPMC Rooney Sports Complex for the AccuSure Playbook. Now as we look at the matchup with the New England Patriots, they still got a young quarterback in Mac Jones. Offensively, they've struggled a little bit in the preseason, and they had a few issues against the Miami Dolphins as far as picking up pressures. And Miami Dolphins got a few guys that were free to the quarterback. One of them was disastrous for the Patriots. We want to look at that first and then show you some stuff the Steelers did against Cincinnati that's pretty much similar that you'll probably see on Sunday. So let's first start with the free defender and the defender that they get in the box. Well, you can see him sneaking right off the bat here. This is part of a great blitzing, is timing. You got to have great timing. Yes, you have to have design. That's important. But defenders understanding the timing and how to execute it, very important. Also, if tight end's looking in here at the ball, tackle's looking in here. So these guys are preoccupied. He moves perfectly. And the result ends up being a very favorable one for the Miami Dolphins. They hit Mac Jones. He didn't even see it coming. They knock the ball down. They get a touchdown. Getting a free defender to a quarterback in the NFL is not an easy thing to do. Well, the Steelers are pretty good at this too. I want you to watch Millette here. Now, Millette actually was pressed here at the line of scrimmage. He was pressed up here, and then he backed off right here. He backs off, and he times this perfectly. Because when he backs off, well, that quarterback, he takes his eyes off him. He doesn't think anything. Now, I want you to watch how quickly he times this. Now, Watt does a great job of occupying the tackle, and the back really never scans back to this side. So you get a free defender to disrupt and destroy the passing game. These type of blitzes, the Steelers are outstanding at. They design them well. They execute them well. The players understand how to do that timing aspect. And when you study film and you see the opponent struggle with that, well, then you're going to design things to challenge them to see if they can pick it up. If they can't pick it up, advantage the Steelers in this one against a young quarterback, Mac Jones.
All right, thanks so much, Merril. Will the Steelers defense need to get off to another fast start tomorrow to help the team's transitioning offense, as Coach Tomlin called it earlier this week? It's time to find out with your keys to the game presented by your neighborhood Ford store. Bob?
All right, Missy, thanks. Coach, we talk about big parts of games like this. Obviously, the three components of it. What's the biggest thing for you against New England this weekend?
Man, we got to be efficient in all three phases. This is an outfit that plays varsity ball consistently in all three phases. Particularly when Tom was there, their offense got a lot of attention, and their organization and team really liked that. because their defense would whack you and their special teams would whack you, and they'd send Tom to the press conferences. We better be solid in all areas. They're going to play the field position game. Their kicking game is really solid. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention a guy like Matt Slater, who has had an unbelievable career as a core coverage guy, and guys like him and others make their special teams unit very dangerous. We've got to minimize the big plays and the field flipping plays on defense. We got to make them earn it. And by the same token, we should expect them to do the same thing on our offense. And so we can't do things to stall drives. We can't be a highly penalized group on offense. We got to just function at a varsity level from an efficiency standpoint and then make the necessary plays in the weighty moments. I think the keys to the game are probably the same for both teams, because I think from a value standpoint in terms of how we engineer victory, there's some strong similarities.
Do you expect with Malik Reed or Jameer Jones or whomever's over there in Watt's spot, would they concentrate on Highsmith, trying to take him away more?
I lean away from speculating because I'm not in New England. I don't know what their agenda is. I know what has my attention are the readiness of Malik and Jones, and seeing what they do well and how we can position them to perform the way that we need them to perform, and I'll worry less about New England's intentions.
All right, Coach, appreciate it as always. Best of luck.
Thank you.
Got the home opener coming up. You'll see it on KDKA tomorrow. We follow with post-game. A reminder to you, the next 84 Lumber Mike Tomlin Show will take place next Wednesday night, special time 11 o'clock, as the Steelers get ready for a quick turnaround week as they head to Cleveland in a big AFC North matchup against the Browns. That's going to do it for Missy Matthews and head coach Mike Tomlin. I'm Bob Pompeani. Have a great Steelers weekend. We'll see you tomorrow at Acrisure Stadium.